Are you thinking of getting solar panels but you aren't sure whether to go with Tesla? Also, are you unsure of how powerful of a system you need? It doesn't matter. If you're on the fence about purchasing solar and you live in California, click on my referral link and get solar now. Seriously. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about my Tesla solar experience. I'm also going to go over the buying process with you and explain to you why you need to get solar now if you live in California due to a new policy that may be coming. I'm also going to talk to you about all the changes with Tesla Solar, as well as how my system is holding up after 1 year of ownership. I'm going to discuss how many kilowatts I have from my home and show you something I didn't even realize, making me super upset onto thinking how much I thought I was actually saving. If you haven't seen my other video, I purchased Tesla Solar last year and did an initial review, so click on the link for that video. However, it's been a year now and there are a lot of things I wish I did and I wish I changed. What is up, guys? It's Chris with Everydaychris and welcome back to my channel. First, let's talk about this super important new policy that may go into effect in May of 2022 in California. Right now, all current solar owners are on a net energy metering 2.0 plan. This means when you generate more power than you consume, you receive a credit on your utility bill. It's based on the energy import price from the utility provider and it's usually around 20 to 30 cents per kilowatt. You also aren't charged any fees for having solar panels. So in a normal person's perspective, it's a win-win. Get credit for generating free electricity from the sun? Awesome. However, with the new potential proposal NEM 3.0, the credit you receive from the sun will be at a much lesser rate. I think they said it was like 0.4 cents per kilowatt, which is crazy low. And if you generate more power than you consume, you won't get any credit. So basically, you're giving free electricity to your utility provider with no benefits for you. This makes having a Powerwall or some way to store your solar energy that much more important. All that energy you generate from the sun won't go to the grid, but it will go to your Powerwall. So you can use that energy when your utility rates are at the highest. Also, you'll now be charged a monthly fee or a grid participation charge to stay connected to the grid with your solar panels. And they were saying it's going to be $8 per kilowatt. So essentially, I have a 4 kilowatt system, so I will be paying an additional $32 a month with this new plan. However, if you already have solar panels, you should be okay, as you should be grandfathered in with the old NEM 2.0 plan. But honestly, this makes purchasing solar panels a much less viable option, especially because you'll gain less money per month and it'll take much longer to break even. But if this does pass, the final changes should go into effect at the end of May in 2022. So if you are considering solar and you live in California, get it now. Now, how do you buy solar? Well, everything is done online. Just input your address, how much your monthly utility fee is, and they come up with the recommendations. They have different systems to choose from depending on your needs. When we purchased our system last year, they offered 4, 8, 12, and 20 kilowatt systems. The price was also much cheaper. Back then, we got a 4.089 kilowatt system for around $8,200 before tax incentives. Essentially, we only paid $6,000 for a 4 kilowatt system, which is a steal. I called 10 different solar companies and asked them for quotes, and I asked them if they can price match, and they said Tesla prices are just way too low, and the lowest that they can do is $15,000 to $20,000. For the same system Tesla was offering. We ended up going with Tesla Solar because it was the cheapest around by a ton. Now, if you didn't know with Tesla, things are always changing. Right when I released my previous video, Tesla changed their pricing structure for the solar panels. So in order to purchase a solar panel from Tesla, you would be forced to buy a Powerwall with it, which costs an additional $10,000. I mean, forcing customers to buy a Powerwall for something they didn't potentially need at the time seemed kind of weird. However, they realized this and they altered their pricing structure again, making the Powerwall an optional choice. But the prices of their solar panels did go up by a lot, and if it follows their CARB pricing structure, the solar panel prices are just gonna keep getting higher and higher. Currently, you can purchase a 4.8 kilowatt system for $12,000. And it costs an additional $12,000 for more kilowatts each tier, with a 19.2 kilowatt system costing $48,000. And adding an additional Powerwall to that system costs an additional $10.5 thousand. So overall, it still is cheaper than the competition, but not by that much. Now let's talk about my first mistake. Not getting a Powerwall. If anyone watching doesn't know what a Powerwall is, it's basically a giant battery that holds the energy you produce and lets you use that energy when the rates are the highest through your utility provider. So say my rates are highest between 4 to 9 p.m. All the energy I generate throughout the day charges the battery in the Powerwall. And when I want to use electricity between 4 to 9 p.m., I could use that energy from the Powerwall, therefore not using any of the electricity from my utility provider, making it much cheaper. This is awesome because my rates are really low. It's about 19 cents per kilowatt. However, during the peak times, 4 to 9 p.m., it jumps to 49 cents per kilowatt, which is crazy high. The Powerwall also lets you use the solar energy you produce right away when you install it, instead of waiting weeks or months from your utility provider to get approval. So that all seems fine and dandy, but is it worth an additional $10,000? Well, before, it would really depend on what your priorities are as well as where you live. I live in Orange County where the electricity rarely goes out and there aren't any natural disasters. This means I'll probably not have that much use for a Powerwall. And for the cost of one Powerwall, I can double the power of my solar system, making it so much more powerful. However, because of this potential new NEM 3.0 policy, it's a good idea to get a Powerwall if you are deciding to get solar. Just know that it is a giant battery and they claim after 10 years, it will operate at 70% of its original capacity. So if you are deciding to purchase solar right now, definitely get it with the Powerwall. The reason why is once you place your order, you could be waiting months for an installation date, which means you may not be grandfathered into the NEM 2.0 plan, but instead be on the NEM 3.0 plan. I mean, it's partly due to the shortage, but it's also due to the lack of communication from your Tesla sales advisor. Before, all the Tesla solar advisors had their own line, making it so much easier to communicate and talk to them. However, now it seems they only have one main number and there are less people working. And this leads to one of the worst customer experiences ever. I mean, don't get me wrong, once Tesla comes out, they do an amazing job with the installation and it's amazing. It's everything before that it's a headache. But again, does the cheap price justify that headache and the extra work that you have to put in? And again, on another note, my Tesla solar experience wasn't that bad. However, my friends who got Tesla solar had horrible experiences. So just a quick summary of my solar experience. I purchased my Tesla solar online, I filled out some forms, took a few photos, they used Google Images to assess my roof, then they canceled my Tesla order, and they told me that I had an incompatible roof type. I then had to call multiple people, I couldn't get a hold of anyone, and had to tell them that my roof was compatible, I had to send someone to verify my roof type. After they verified my roof type and they knew they could install solar, I had to constantly follow up to make sure I could get a solar installation date. With all said and done, I was able to get an installation date within 3 months, which isn't that bad. However, my friend had a completely different experience. And this was around the same time they changed their advisors from having their own lines to having one main line, making it like 100 times harder to get a hold of someone. From the lack of communication to never responding to emails or calls, my neighbor couldn't get a hold of anyone to check on the status of their solar installation. And it honestly reminded me of the time I purchased my Tesla and I got double charged for the car. I tried calling store after store and person after person trying to get a hold of someone to figure it out, and I just kept getting the runaround and no one would help me with what was going on. For my friend, when she did get a hold of someone, they would tell her they would escalate the situation and get back to her. However, when she would call back a few days later, it turns out the person she talked to never escalated anything and nothing ever happened. Finally, she was able to get installation after calling multiple times. But guess how long it took her after submitting her initial order online? 8 whole months. That's right, 8 whole months of waiting to get a solar installation date, which is insane. Now again, perhaps this is an isolated incident. However, one thing I know for sure is you have to follow up with Tesla constantly to make sure everything goes smoothly. So one of my regrets was not getting a bigger system. I live in a 2,600 square foot home and use a ton of electricity. I also have to charge my Tesla. I charge it to about 40% every day, so I use about 25 kilowatts. And yes, to this day, there are 0 issues with my solar system and I do love it. However, I do wish I went with a bigger system. Before Tesla and solar, my bill was around $150 to $170 a month. I thought a 4 kilowatt system would be good enough for me to pay around $10 to $20 a month. And even Tesla recommended a 4 kilowatt system for me for my electricity needs. Now the reason why I bring this up is because I bamboozled myself. That's right, when I first made my initial solar video, I was shocked at how much I was paying for electricity. Only 10 to 20 bucks. $20 a month for electricity while charging my Tesla, which consumes 25 kilowatts? That's insane. Sure, the math didn't add up, but who cares? Free electricity, baby! Idiot! And then I dug a little deeper. Looking at the bill, it showed that my utility provider charges a delivery charge that is due every month, which ranges from $10 to $20. That's right, this whole time I was only paying the delivery fee. It then shows you your year-to-date charges and the amount of electricity you owe at the end of the year. Because I switched to the solar plan, my bill kind of changed. Instead of having to owe electricity every month, you owe it at the end of the year in a lump sum. And now I'm almost at the 12-month mark, and guess how much I owe? Just guess. Right now, I'm on month 11 out of 12, and I owe $998. $1,000! You could tell I was completely shocked, and yes, it is completely my fault and I didn't pay attention enough. I think what really got me was the fact that I had to charge the Tesla every day. I mean, if you look at my hourly kilowatt usage, it stays pretty low. It's not until the car charges at 2 p.m. as well as 1 and 2 a.m. That's when my kilowatt usage increases by a lot. I mean, overall, it's not that bad. I mean, $150 times 12, 150 times 12, 150. I mean, I'm Asian, I should be good at math. 150 times 12, $1,800. I would be paying $1,800 for electricity for the year. And that's with a $150 fixed rate. Sometimes my electricity is even more expensive, like $170. So ideally with solar, I'm saving $800, which is pretty good. And my solar only costed me $6,000, so I'd break even in about 3.5 years, which isn't bad at all. However, in the end, I did wish I'd go with the 8 kilowatt system. At the time, it only would have costed me $16,000, so breaking even may have taken me maybe twice as long. However, still I feel like it would have been worth it. However, if you do have solar and you are an SCE customer like myself, I recommend changing your billing plan right away so there aren't any more surprises. It's super easy to do. All you have to do is fill out form 16345 and it changes your billing plan from yearly to monthly. So you don't get hit with any surprises like the end of the year like myself. So here's what I suggest doing right now before you consider the solar system you want. Find your highest bill. Then what you're gonna wanna do is find your hourly kilowatt usage. And a lot of times this is all online and it's given to you, so it's super easy. Like for me, SCE, they give you the average daily usage as well as the total usage, which is great. So for me, for the month of August to September of 2020, I was averaging almost 900 kilowatts for the entire bill cycle. Let's just say that's 30 kilowatts a day. Multiply that by 1,000 to find how many watts you use a day. So for me, I use around 30,000 watts. Now assume where you live, you get 5 full hours of sun. And again, it does change based on where you live. However, divide 30,000 by 5. And if your math is correct, you should get 6,000 watts, which means you would need a 6 kilowatt system in order to produce enough electricity that you consume. And looking at the average monthly kilowatts in LA for a 4 kilowatt system, I would only be producing 528 kilowatts a day, meaning I pretty much should have went with a stronger system. There are other factors like the quality of the solar panels and how many watts it produces, which I'll talk about next. So when we installed our Tesla solar panels, they were still using the Solar Edge inverter in order to convert the solar energy to electricity. However, now Tesla is using their own inverter, which does the same thing, but it just looks so much sexier. Also back then, Tesla was using solar panels from the third chain supplier. However, guess what? Now they developed their own solar panels. With my older solar panels, the output was limited to only 340 watts. However, with Tesla's new solar panels, it has 420 watts, which is so much more productive and efficient. I mean, it's not a crazy difference in performance. My system generates 4.08 kilowatts and the new ones generate 4.8. However, it's super cool that Tesla is inventing and developing their own panels that's more efficient. Another awesome thing is the complete redesign of their app. It shows you how many kilowatts you're using as well as other data, and it does it with cool graphics. However, you can't see how much electricity you're using in your home unless you have a Powerwall. So I know it was a ton of information, but hopefully I helped you decide on purchasing solar. And again, if you do live in California and you're considering it, don't wait, purchase solar now using my referral link. You get $500 off the solar roof or $300 off solar panels. Anyways, thanks for watching my video guys, and I'll see you guys next week.